Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Southeast Ohio Sports Talk. I'm Portsmouth Daily Times sports reporter Ben Spicer, joined by sports editor Kevin Colley. Kevin, we had the first week of high school football. What did you think?
It was great as always. It's always good in Ohio, catching the best teams in action and just seeing the pageantry and the traditions and the play of these young athletes come out in full force.
Well, before we get into our picks for this week, we want to look at some of the scores and stats from last week. So, for first off, we're going to talk about Portsmouth and Valley, a big game for Isaac Kelly, as you see there. Portsmouth won 35-7. Memphis and Rock Hill, we were both wrong in that one.
Yep.
West beat Fairland. You were at that game. Huge win for the Senators, who struggled in close games last season. And then East just barreled through South Gallia. We kind of saw that one coming. They cruised in that one. Waverly beat their arch rival Piketon. Drew Kritzweiser and Clayton Howe shined for the Tigers. Southern over Notre Dame. The Titans showed a lot of fight, though, against that tough opponent. I know you were at that game as well.
Yes.
Eastern beat Wheelersburg 22-6. The Eagles had a big day from their defense. Thanks, defensive coordinator Ramon Colley for the stats. Friend of the program, by the way.
Yeah.
And Wheelersburg just went through Ironton with no problems. The defense was very stingy in that one as well. Held Ironton to right around 50 yards of total offense. Tanner Holden, Trent Salyers with a big game there. And then last but not least, we have some other scores. Sims Valley beat Payton City out of West Virginia. Big opening win for the Vikings, who are usually pretty good in their season openers. West Union beat Green. That was kind of a surprise to both of us. We were both wrong in that one.
No.
Southeastern beat Northwest. You had me in that one, the game that put Kevin ahead of me in our standings. And then Chesapeake beat Oak Hill. The Panthers survived 3 turnovers to get that win, so an interesting game there. So we're going to go ahead and go to our picks for this week, and we're going to start off with the Notre Dame Titans, who you saw last week. They will take on Millersport, who Eastern defeated last week. So what are your thoughts on this one? I think Notre Dame has a chance, but I'm going to go with Millersport.
I'm also going to go with Millersport. Millersport did a lot better against Eastern than I expected them to, and actually made the game very close. Eastern's had some injuries on the line, and that's really affected their offensive ability in the first week. And still, though, Millersport, after getting hammered by Eastern last year, looked a lot better. It's going to be tough for Notre Dame, especially on the road, and with that, I think Millersport's got this one.
Well, we picked Green last week, and we didn't get the win there, but this week they're going to take on Hannan from West Virginia, a team that they beat last year. I think the Bobcats will get on the right track in this one. What do you think, Kevin?
I think you and I both will be right in saying that the Bobcats will come out with their first win of the year. Hannan lost 40-0 last week against Montcalm, West Virginia. Opponent they only lost to by 6 last year. Green beat Hannan 16-0, and Coach Newsom says this is the best team he's had. All of that plus having the game at home adds up to a victory for me, with Green heading on top, getting their first win of the year, and getting that in the start in the right direction.
The Falcons of Memphis were another team that proved us wrong last week. They beat Rock Hill. This week they're going to play another hill at Oak Hill, the Oaks. It's an interesting game for me. I think I'm going to go with Memphis this time. I picked against them last week, so I got to give the Falcons some love this week.
Go opposite you. I'm going to go with Oaks. I like what Coach Dugan's doing down there. The game against Chesapeake was a lot closer than I thought it would be, and I think they showed impressive poise, staying with the stronger, more physical, older Chesapeake team that is also, in a lot of aspects, really good at hitting the edge and really fast in that part of the field. I really think Oak Hill's got the edge in this one. Memphis kind of struggled defensively against a Rock Hill team that only has a quarterback of freshman eligibility. And while I love Braden Tilley and I love what they do, and Coach Ruby's a great guy, a good coach, I believe. I just think the Oaks are going to come out with this one. I think Coach Dugan is determined not to get off to 3 straight 0-3 starts, and having it at home helps that cause.
That'll be a good one to watch for sure. And the East Tartans will travel to Danville, the team that knocked them out of the playoffs, their only loss last season. This is an interesting game as well. I think I'm going to go with Danville, though. They seem like a pretty tough out for the Tartans.
Yeah, Danville's defense is always very tough. I'm going with Danville as well. East is, I think, better than they were last year. I mean, up 38-0 on South Gallia at one point. I mean, it was a total runaway. Brady Douthit with 4 touchdown passes and a rushing score from the quarterback position. But Danville's defense is so stingy. I don't see East having made enough gains to catch up with Danville at this point.
Our next matchup is a little interesting. Valley traveling to Colgrove. You got the experience of Darren Crabtree and the youth and excitement of Evan Ferguson, the 26-year-old head coach for Colgrove. It's going to be an interesting game, but I like the Hornets in this one. Valley struggled a little bit against Portsmouth. I think Cole Grove's a pretty tough team. They beat Portsmouth last year, so.
I do. I've got Cole Grove by 2 scores. I think that youth and experience, or youth that Evan Ferguson brings to the table, I mean, it showed in the 51-6 win over Buffalo, West Virginia, and while Buffalo's not necessarily big in school size, they had good traditions in the past football-wise. I look for Cole Grove to start the season off 2-0.
Perhaps the biggest win was that Wheelersburg win over Ironton. They've got Fairland at home this week. You saw Fairland play West. I don't think they have a chance in this one, but what are your thoughts?
I mean, what more can you say about Wheelersburg? I mean, that was a dominating performance they put together against Ironton. Tanner Holt with 4 touchdown catches in his 5 total catches, and the defense is just lights out. I mean, Ironton hasn't been what it was, but still, I mean, that's the most dominating win in the series, in the history of the series. What more can you say? And I mean, it's not going to get any better for Fairland. I don't see Wheelersburg allowing any points in this one. It could be a 45-point win for Berg if they come out and play like they did against Ironton.
The Pirates certainly looking good so far to start the season. Next up, Northwest is set to travel to Rock Hill, and you mentioned that freshman quarterback for Rock Hill. What do you think about this one? I think Northwest has a chance, but I think Rock Hill is going to take the win.
Right, I think Rock Hill will too. Rock Hill's got a lot of talent at other positions, and as Mark Lutz goes through and you know that Lutz family tree gets that coaching minds rolling in those players, I just don't see Northwest being able to hang with Rock Hill. Rock Hill's got a lot of talent, especially on the lines and in the skill spots. They'll be in a tough out as the year goes forward and as the guys get more experience.
And our biggest game so far this week, Kevin, I know you're looking forward to this one. Portsmouth traveling to Portsmouth West. The Trojans and the Senators set to clash. It looks like a big game. Ben Johnson got the big win to start the season with West. And then Portsmouth looked really impressive with their quarterback, Isaac Kelly. So it's going to be an interesting game over there on the west side. I think I'm going to go with Portsmouth, though. What are your thoughts on this one?
I'm going Portsmouth also. I love what Dylan Bradford did last week, completing 80% of his passes. I love how Garrett Hurd ran the ball, and I love the connection that Bradford and Josh Berry have formulated. It obviously showed on Friday in the win against Fairland, but Portsmouth's just got so much size up front and in the trenches is where Portsmouth has really improved with Josh Mattis on the defensive side and Bo Mayo helping him, and then the offensive line is so big. I don't see a way that Portsmouth will lose this game. I think it will be close. I think West will fight and make it close, but Portsmouth will come out ahead and on top.
We'll have more about that Bradford and Berry tandem later on in the show, but for now, we're going to look at some of the other games, and here's just some of the teams that we've picked, some interesting games. The biggest one, perhaps, that we haven't talked about, Ironton and Russell. I know you obviously went to Russell back in the day, so you know a little thing or two about the Red Devils. What do you think about this matchup?
Ironton's going to present Russell with some problems because Russell has, at times, a difficult time stopping the run. If Ironton lines up in the T, that can present some issues. Now, Russell's secondary is also depleted because they lost Ryan Stump to season-ending injury in the scrimmage, and that could also present problems even if Ironton does try to pass. But I think the Red Devils are going to come out ahead in this one as their younger groups get more experience. And Austin Church at the quarterback position has a great arm. And he's going to prove that, I think, against the Ironton secondary. It will not be a 48-3 game, but it will be, I think, a score or two in favor of the Red Devils.
Hey, if you don't want to wait until Friday for high school football, you can watch the Ohio State Buckeyes later on tonight. They'll take on Indiana. An interesting storyline here. I know it's been talked a lot in the offseason. Kevin Wilson, co-offensive coordinator now at Ohio State, used to be the head coach at Indiana. A little animosity there, perhaps, but what does Wilson bring to the table for Ohio State?
Brings more explosive offense that you've already seen. I think you'll see a lot more deep balls being thrown, but the running game will still be emphasized. He just did, I thought, an excellent job at Indiana. I really did not think he deserved his fate that he received there. I think Indiana was well on their way to building a solid program that could have contended for possibly a top 3 division finish at times. It would have been tough to ever win, a division title, make it to the Big Ten title game because of, the powers that be with Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. But it's definitely a program that was heading in the right direction with Kevin Wilson there, and he just adds more recruiting, to an already powerful recruiting staff at Ohio State.
Led the Hoosiers to a bowl game last season, although they didn't get the win. he wasn't coaching at the time. It was Tom Allen, the current Hoosiers head coach. Wilson came to Ohio State early January and has really helped the program move forward offensively. I know they had some struggles last year, but JT Barrett will return for the Buckeyes, and I think that's big news for them because he has just been a great player throughout his career, 3-time captain at Ohio State. No other player has ever done that. So I think Barrett deserves a lot of respect. And what do you think that means for him to come back as a senior in a new offense under Wilson?
To be Cap 3 for 3 years and then being, the head of the charge under Kevin Wilson shows how much JT Barrett can adapt. And I think that will serve him well when he gets drafted in the NFL, because he will get drafted in the NFL, because he's a versatile talent, and I think that what Ben referenced so well proves that.
Yeah, he's definitely a great player. So a lot of hype for the Buckeyes in the preseason. Do you think they have a chance to win it all?
Yes, I do. The talent offensively and defensively, obviously. I mean, the quarterbacks that they have there is just ridiculous. You behind him, you got Joe Burrow. Everybody around here, obviously an Athens guy, loves what Joe Burrow can do with the football. And some people have said he throws a better deep ball than Barrett does. But even behind that, you Tate Martelli, incoming freshman. He's so, kind of like a Johnny Manziel type that people were talking about in high school with the plays that he made at Bishop Gorman's time and time again. Just there, they're deep, but in every position they're deep. I definitely see them being in the college football playoff. Whether they can dethrone Alabama or Clemson, that's a different story because both teams are so deep defensively, even with what they lost, and I don't see either one of those teams missing a beat very much.
Ohio State will definitely be battle tested. They've got Oklahoma in their second week of play, as well as Michigan and, of course, Penn State within that division. So they'll definitely be ready to play if they do make the playoffs. Looking at some of the other local area teams and who they'll play, Ohio is set to open up with Hampton in their first game. Miami of Ohio will travel to Marshall, and then Kentucky. This is an interesting one. Looking for revenge against Southern Miss after the Golden Eagles knocked off the Wildcats at home last year. That was a crazy game. And then there's some players on some teams that we just mentioned that I feel could have a chance at the Heisman Trophy. Of course, you got JT Barrett. We talked about him and what he brings to the table. Obviously, a very explosive offense with the Buckeyes. I think Benny Snell, if Kentucky wins 9 games, it's going to be because of Benny Snell Jr., the running back. He's from Ohio, by the way.
Yeah, Pick Central.
He's set for a big season, I think, especially if Kentucky's going to be successful. And then you look at Will Greer over at West Virginia and transfer from Florida. Obviously, I know a lot about him. He was very good at Florida in the 6 games that he played. Yeah. Had all the controversy with the performance-enhancing drugs and all that, transferred to West Virginia. I think he's set up to succeed in that Dana Holgerson offense there with the Mountaineers.
Yes, sir.
There are some local players who graduated from Scioto County schools playing in Division I. What can you tell me about those guys?
Jeremy McCray, just a physical lineman from Ohio that will be expected to start and play a key role on the offensive line at OU. That's just one guy that I can think of off the top of my head. That's going to play a big factor into what Ohio will do, especially in the running game.
Yeah, Keaton Newsom, also a walk-on from Wheelersburg at Marshall. Right. So those videos where we see guys getting awarded scholarships. Hopefully Newsom will be one of those guys down the future. But for now, we're going to talk about the college here in Portsmouth, Shawnee State. And I understand that they had their first night game last night under the lights, the soccer teams, the boys and girls soccer teams. It was a little rainy, though. So what were your thoughts on the night game for the soccer teams, and how did that help the university?
I think it was an excellent event. So many people that, from what I saw, the crowd was almost completely full on the home side. At Shawnee State, obviously, the back side of it is where the SID and his crew, Jonathan Lowridge's crew, will set up, and then both of the benches at home on the right side, away on the other, and the home and away fans will gather on the same side. It was completely full. Great atmosphere. I was really, really impressed with the women's soccer team, especially, and how fast they are. Aubrey Johnson has done a tremendous job in getting these girls in shape, and they've won 7 out of the last 8 games, and I think they're going to be going for more because their group is fast and physical. Jenny Campbell is really good with controlling the ball. That's a Chillicothe native. Maddie Woodard is another Ohioan who has been really, really key at the forward slot. Lindsey Seals from Huntington St. Joe up in West Virginia has been huge, playing both sides of the field really well and covering a lot of ground with her lanky frame. There's going to be a lot of names in that lineup. Charity Collins, another one. That's the Morehead State University transfer that was big in the lineup. There are going to be a lot of names you're going to hear about. This group has the potential to win 8-9 games. Aubrey's doing a great job with that program for sure.
Another team that's got off to a great start is the volleyball team. They went down to Montreat College in North Carolina for their volley in the Mountains tournament. Finished 3-1. They did lose to a ranked opponent. And in those 3 wins, they won each of them in just 3 sets. So a very impressive start for Susan Shelton's group. She is getting set to travel to Rio Grande on Friday and take on several teams, including Northwestern Ohio, who's on a roll with a 6-game winning streak themselves in the Emily Cooper Memorial Tournament. So that'll definitely be an interesting game for Shawnee State volleyball. Before we finish things off, I know Top Performers, our new segment, was a popular hit last week. So Kevin, go ahead with your top performers.
Tanner Holden, obviously, I mean, what else can you say? I mean, 5 catches, 4 touchdowns on the 5 catches. I mean, he made play after play after play and just showed off the speed that he has in the open field. What a talent that guy is. For West, I had 3 guys from where I saw the game. Dylan Bradford completing 12-15 passes for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. Huge. Both of them to Josh Berry, who ended up with 6 catches for 114 yards and both of the Bradford scores. They really did a great job opening up the running game for Garrett Hurd, the other guy I would have mentioned, who had 18 carries for 87 yards, a touchdown, over 100 all-purpose yards. On 3rd and 23, catches a 12-yard pass, or runs for 12 yards off tackle. 4th and 12, catches a pass over the middle, dodges a couple Fairwind defenders, gets 16 yards and the first down. Huge, because that keeps the drive alive, makes it a 7-minute drive. Fairwind goes 3 and out the next series, only gets the ball back once more the rest of the game, not able to do much more. Those guys were huge. Then the Shawnee State women's soccer program for winning the first ever night game in history. Obviously off to a great start by beating Union College out of Kentucky 1-0. What a huge win that is. What a great start for Johnson again. She's done a great job with that program, as we just said. Then you've got the Wheelersburg girls soccer program. Beating Russell at Russell is so hard to do. Russell has been a top 300 program nationally, and they did it at Russell with their 14 women senior class. They've got a chance to get people to go to the state Final Four. This team is legitimately good. If you enjoy soccer, I would go watch the Wheelersburg girls soccer program, because they're going to put Southeastern Ohio girls soccer on the map with the way they're playing right now. They're fast, they're physical, they cover a lot of ground, they handle the ball very well in the open field, and they cover a lot of ground. It's just an excellent program that I like to watch. And I'll also mention one other that I left off. I'm also going to give a shout out to Alek Blevins of South Webster. Outstanding 3-sport athlete for the Jeeps. Scored his first goal last night for the men's soccer program. Gave Shawnee State a 1-0 lead in the 58th minute. Congrats, Alek. Excellent athlete. Loved how you represented the area of class. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. His buddy Shane Zimmerman on the other side covered a lot of ground. Kind of playing the forward slot, then switching back to defense. Really covered, tremendous job covering one half of the field. Did an excellent job with his wing.
A lot of local players on that Shawnee State men's soccer team, so definitely something to look forward to for many years to come, I would say. Southeastern Ohio has definitely grown in terms of soccer, so good to see Shawnee State recruiting those local athletes. For my top performers of the week, I know you mentioned Tanner Holden, so I have to give a shout out to Trent Salyers. The guy throwing him the ball. He had 280 passing yards as well as 5 touchdowns. Did have another passing touchdown to his friend Cole Lowry. And the Wheelersburg Pirates defense definitely a top performer as well. Held Ironton to right around 50 yards of total offense, just dominating. Only gave up 3 points. Just a great performance from the Pirates defense. And then Isaac Kelly for Portsmouth had a big first game with the Trojans. 4 total touchdowns, and really looked like a solid leader for a guy that's only been there for a couple months, you know. He's really looked solid with the Trojans, and moving forward, I think Portsmouth's going to be a tough team to beat.
Yeah.
So we thank you guys once again for joining us. This is our 5th episode, crazy to say, of Southeast Ohio Sports Talk. Thank you guys so much for the shares and the support. Be sure to stay tuned next week as we will talk about more high school football and local sports action. For Kevin Colley, I'm Ben Spicer.